Okay, so I'm here to explain the 13th nakshatra out of the 27 nakshatras, and that is known as Hasta nakshatra, which is a nakshatra that falls in between 10 degrees of Virgo and 23.20 degrees of Virgo, and I have a lot to say about this nakshatra. So, the symbolism of this nakshatra is the hands, or the fists, and the deity that rules this is known as Savitor. The sexual animal associated with this is a female buffalo, and the planet that controls and rules this nakshatra is the moon. So let's jump into this nakshatra. So the deity Savitor is portrayed and known to be like some deity. He's known as a solar deity because you see he is the offspring and child of a Deity, who is a deity that rules Vasu. She has like 12 kids, and they're known as like solar deities. They represent different times of the day of when the sun is rising and moving throughout the day and stuff. And Savitor is known to be a deity who is sort of a bit of a trickster and maybe seen smiling. And he's known to have like magical, gifted, golden, glowing hands. So that sort of puts more emphasis and give us clarity, insight as to why this nakshatra symbolism is the hands or the fist. He is known to be a life giver, a vivifier, and he's just associated with skills of hands. He's sort of known also as like a god of inspiration and a god of mantras. Why is he known as a god of mantras? Because there is a big famous mantra that is associated with him, known as the Gayatri mantra. And basically this is a mantra that is apparently heavily used and repeated in Indian culture or Hinduism, and they basically call on this deity. They call on Savitor to bless them with his abilities so that they can, go throughout the days. And what Savitor does, he blesses people with consciousness, with awareness, with insight, because he is a solar deity that is associated with the sunrise. So think about what happens when the sun rises. When the sun rises, we wake up, we get ready to go to school, we read a newspaper, or we pick up our phone, look at the text messages and notifications that we miss. So the first thing that usually happens is that when you wake up, you end up absorbing information. So, he's like associated with awareness and consciousness and making you aware of things, making you aware and able to see and perceive stuff. And you see and perceive stuff and absorb information usually when you wake up in the morning. You grabbing your phone, looking at a newspaper, you are absorbing information. Also, there's a lot that you can see and learn about your hands. So if you count the joints in your hands, in one hand you got 15 joints. If you count the joints in your fingers and your thumb, that's 15 joints. And if you, add both of them together, you get 30. There's 30 days usually in a month. And if you just count the joints in your 4 fingers, you end up with 12. And there's 12 months. There's 12 zodiac signs. And then the 4 fingers can be symbolic of the 4 motivations of living, particularly associated with Hinduism and Indian culture, known as Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Dharma is like the righteous, moral, universal law and just the noble way of living, typically. Artha is like how you go about acquiring material wealth and possessions and items. Kama is your desires, your pleasures, the things that you are passionate about, the things that you desire. And Moksha usually associated with means liberation, spiritual liberation. And and through spiritual liberation you end up recycling. You end up stop being rebirthed and reborn. Your 4 fingers in your thumb could be associated with the 5 senses. The 5 senses that we have. They can be associated with the 5 elements: earth, wind, fire, water, and ether, which is space. And everybody got their own unique fingerprint. There's people who can read your palms to reach your destiny. The 3rd house in our birth chart is associated with written communication, is associated with our hands. And the third house is also associated with our courage, our willpower, our efforts. And I already made a whole video on that. Just go look at the miscellaneous section in my playlists. But yeah, the third house is associated with our efforts. And we do and achieve and accomplish a lot of things with our hands. So when you look at and observe all these many different things of your hands, you see that your hands symbolically represent many different facets and aspects of the universe. And with having this knowledge and this awareness and consciousness of how we can be the creator and shapes and you know, the shapers of our own destiny, we feel real confident, and we feel so that we can go out and about and achieve and accomplish whatever we want. Stereotypically, you know, Hasta nakshatra is mainly associated, is stereotypically stated that this side of Virgo, Hasta nakshatra, these people are very skilled with working with their hands. In my opinion, I see more people who are skilled with working with their hands with Chitra nakshatra, which comes right after Hasta. But I could be wrong, but this is my personal experience. What I really believe with Hasta nakshatra is that the hands are a little bit more symbolic and metaphorical. The Shakti of this nakshatra, the ability, the energy of this nakshatra is the power to put one's objects of desire into one's hand or to gain what one is seeking. Yeah, that is sort of like the motive and energy of Hasta, to be able to quickly obtain and gain whatever it is that they want and desire and put it in their hand quickly. That is sort of like what Hasta is about. So this side of Hasta, Hasta, this side of Virgo is, like I said, it's all about being real conscious, being real aware, and using your consciousness, using your awareness to go about and accomplish things. It's like the side of Virgo that is like, okay, I'm aware that this is a problem and I need to go fix this and I need to do that. This is like them using their awareness, their consciousness for very practical things. They just aware. They just like, okay, I know that needs to be taken care of. I know this needs to be done. Oh, I got this problem. Well, okay, but this is how I'm going to go about doing it. They see the problem. They know what they need to work on. They know what needs to be done, and they know how to go about doing it in an efficient manner. This is that side of Virgo that people probably stereotypically see. But this side of Virgo can also be very spiritual. This side of Virgo can really love meditating, because you see, this is a nakshatra that is ruled by the moon. This is interesting because this is a nakshatra that is controlled by the moon, which represents our mind and our emotions. And in the birth chart, the Rashi sign, Virgo, is ruled by Mercury. So you got intelligence and you have the emotions and the mind coming together. So, you know, Hasta nakshatra is all about using your intelligence. Hasta nakshatra is all about sort of like controlling your mind, controlling your emotions, and sort of just being real mindful, being real aware. And then once you're real calm and mindful and aware, you can use the intelligence of Mercury, because Mercury is known as Buddha. And Buddha, if you know Buddha, whatever, it means enlightenment. It means consciousness. It means awareness. And this is real highlighted in this nakshatra. These people use their awareness of things to their advantage. Now, this is why if you go look up Hasta nakshatra and you look up careers or favorable activities, you'll see things like robbing and pickpocketing. Because in a negative person, in a negative sense, a person can use their intelligence and awareness, their ability to be more perceptive and aware of things that people aren't aware of, to rob them, to finesse them, to gamble and steal from them. You know, you can use that awareness to perceive things that other people aren't normally able to perceive for mischievous stuff. Or you can use your ability to be more aware and be able to perceive and see things that other people aren't aware of for more noble things. You know, these are people, this is probably like a side of Virgo, because Virgo naturally is associated with the 6th house of everyday struggles and obstacles that we got to deal with on a day-to-day basis. They're just naturally more aware of the things that people aren't aware of, and they are able to get on top of it. They are able to jump on it and tackle it. And yeah, so these people, this side of Virgo, they're go-getters. They know it needs to be done. They know their objective, they know what they need to work on, and they're going to go about and get it. They're going to go about and accomplish it. And all of that is just has a whole lot of third house energy, a whole lot of effort, a whole lot of willpower, a whole lot of like Mars energy. So in my opinion, from what I've experienced or seen so far when it comes to looking at people's charts who have some Hasta placements, some of them might be skilled with their hands or do stuff with their hands, but all of them are not tarot readers. All of them don't really like to gamble and play card games. Those are some of the things that are stated or I've seen or heard people say when they looked at Hasta or explain Hasta nakshatra. All these people are not really skilled with working with their hands or shuffling cards. I truly believe Hasta nakshatra is more so symbolic of these people just being real aware and knowing how to go about accomplishing and doing things. And just think about the sun for a minute, since this is associated with a sun deity who's associated with the sunrise. The sun is just a very intelligent planetary body. Well, all the planets are just very intelligent in general, but just seeing that this deity is associated with the sun just shows me the intelligence. Because think about it, the sun is just out in the middle of space, and the sun is stated to be like the king of all the planets. And just think about how intelligent the sun is. The sun is able to illuminate things and give us light and brightness in the middle of darkness, and it's just very conscious. I can't really get any more deeper or philosophical than that. So another thing with this nakshatra, it also sort of teaches you how to overcome depression, because this is a deity that's associated with inspiration. So typically when a person is depressed, they want to stay in the house and they want to go to sleep all day. Well, on a biological sense, when people, your body naturally begins to produce melatonin when you are in a dark environment, when it's nighttime, when you're in a dark environment, dark room or whatever, under your covers, your body begins to naturally produce melatonin because your body is thinking that it's nighttime and therefore it's preparing itself for sleep. And therefore, one of the signs of depression is people that stereotypically like to sleep a lot. Well, this nakshatra sort of tells you that, hey, one of the ways to beat depression is to simply just go outside, go out into the sun and just simply do something. Simply bathe in the sun. Simply being in the sun will sort of naturally just wake you up and get you out of that slump a little bit of just wanting to stay in your room and just die and do nothing. This nakshatra is all about quickly putting your goals and your objectives and your desires in your hand and obtaining it as quickly as possible. So it sort of tells you that it's very important to have a goal, to have a desire. Of course, goals and desires is sort of very a bit egotistical if you want to get real deep and philosophical with it. But for the sake of making this video not that deep and philosophical, it sort of shows you that by having inspirations and goals and desires, having something to look forward to can sort of it can make you want to stay alive, make you want to keep yourself alive. Think about when you order something from Amazon, you order a package. The minute you order it, you are very eager and happy, and you just looking out the window and you can't wait for it to already arrive at your door. At least that's how I feel. When you order something, you are excited and you can't wait till it arrives to you, and you sort of got like a motivation and a willingness to live. Or you're looking at a show and the show ends on like a good cliffhanger, and then you gotta wait next week or next month for them to drop a new episode. So you gotta sort of have that same type of energy in your life. You need to find something that you may be good at, find a hobby, find a passion, and find something that you want to go after and get. Having a goal, having a motive, having a finish line, having a goalpost or whatever, having something to strive towards and work towards can give you the energy and motivation to want to live and keep going on. And lastly, with this nakshatra is a mythological story associated with the buffalo that is mainly seemingly to be associated and tied to this nakshatra when I read many books in regards to this nakshatra. And this story is about the demon buffalo known as Mahishasura, who was apparently a demon an asura, who are sort of known as demons or negative entities or beings or whatever, who was a demon, who was a buffalo, a person who had the ability to transform in and out of like a human form and a demonic buffalo. And apparently he ended up getting a wish granted, and fulfilled by apparently Lord Brahma, because he prayed to Lord Brahma, did penance to Lord Brahma. And usually from these mythological stories, to my understanding, when you pray to a god, and you impress them, they end up granting you a wish. And this demon ended up praying to Lord Brahma, and Brahma apparently fulfilled the guy's wish. And his wish was that no deity, no deva, would be able to kill him, defeat him, except for a woman. No man will be able to defeat him. And stereotypically, most gods or beings of aggression and fighting ability are stereotypically men. So he thinking that, what? No one can beat me. Only a woman can beat me. And what woman's going to want to fight me? So this buffalo, this demon, he was able to defeat and I guess kill and control god territory, whatever. And he was getting out of control. So several gods, several deities, they ended up coming together, like Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and other several deities. They came together and they sort of manifested and they created this woman deity, this woman being known as Durga. Durga is also known to be associated with a different form, and it's also associated to be a different incarnation and form of a Parvati, like an aggressive, angry warrior side form of Parvati. But anyway, they created this being known as Durga, who is this goddess feminine woman, and they all bestowed to her their weapons, their divine weapons. Shiva's trident, Vishnu's little Sudra chakram, spinning wheel thingies, and all these other things. All these deities, all these male gods, they gave all their weapons to Durga, and Durga sort of portrayed to have like 10 arms or whatever. So they gave them all to her, and then she was blessed with a vehicle to travel on, which was a lion. Well, in some illustrations, Durga is portrayed to be riding on a lion, or to be portrayed riding on a tiger. But she is riding on some big feline-like animal, which is either a lion or a tiger. And she goes out with these weapons, and she ends up killing and slaying this demonic buffalo, and that's the end of the story. So what do you take from this story? Well, we see that we can end up being like the buffalo. Hasta people can achieve great levels of success if they use their consciousness and awareness for the right things, or even for malefic things. You can achieve great things with their intelligence, with their consciousness, with their ability to go out and solve problems, and with their ability to go out and get what they want in the most efficient way possible. But if they use that intelligence for things that aren't noble, or let it get to their head, then they sort of can become a problem to those around them and to themselves. And the main thing is that they need to like have their ego killed. Don't let your success, don't let your intelligence, don't let your ability to see things and be aware of things that other people aren't aware of go to your head and make you somebody ugly. Because if you go look up Durga, Durga, she is portrayed with her tongue out, holding the head of this demon. And the head is like symbolic of the ego, And I told you, the moon is the planetary body that controls the nakshatra, and the moon is associated with our mind and emotions. So it sort of shows you that, use your mind and intelligence for noble things, and don't let your ego get the best of you. Don't let your intelligence, don't let the ego sort of like get the best of your intelligence and make it run wild and stuff. And also, this nakshatra can sort of be associated with divine weapons. I sort of Google, or at least from the app that I looked up when it comes to learning nakshatras, it sort of also stated that maybe Savitar or Hasta nakshatra can be associated with divine weaponry, because we see that Durga, she was blessed with divine weapons to slay this buffalo, this demonic buffalo. So it could just be very symbolic that these people are able to, do whatever it takes to take down their goal, to take down their task. No matter how big the obstacle is, they have the intelligence, they have the know-how to be able to be, okay, this is what I got to do. This is the impossible task that I have to conquer. I'm going to figure out how to do it. And this is how it needs to be done. It sort of reminds me of something that I read in a book. Will Smith's memoir. In the very beginning of his memoir, he essentially illustrates how we have to take life one brick at a time, because he had to go build a wall. He had to go fix a hole in a wall, and his father was making him fix this hole in the wall, and he kept complaining about this seemingly impossible task. And his father was telling him, essentially, don't be focused on this hole in the wall. Don't be focused on all this work that you got to do. You just focus on laying down one brick as perfectly and good as you can. And that's how you got to sort of take life. Don't get intimidated by your problems. Don't get intimidated by your dreams and goals. Don't get intimidated by how big and daunting they may seem. All you got to do is tackle it one at a time to the best of your ability. And over a course of time, your task, the tree that you got to chop, the wall that you got to climb, it'll be small. You then boom. Don't focus on the task. Don't focus on, the end result. You just focus on perfecting things one step at a time. That's sort of like the mindset and energy of Hasta nakshatra. A shadow planet like Rahu would do wonderful in Hasta nakshatra. Rahu is sort of considered and stated to be like exalted in like Virgo and Taurus sign, and I think it would do very good in Hasta nakshatra, because Rahu is the head of the dragon that's associated with insatiable desires and wanting to Rahu's associated with like insatiable desires, want to accomplish and achieve great big things. I had to go cut this video into a second part because the camera stopped recording. So if you put Rahu in this nakshatra, you put him in a nakshatra that deals with giving life to things, giving awareness to things. It's like you're giving him this secret ability to perceive and see things that other people aren't able to perceive and see, and he just do great unimaginable things, either for good or bad, with it. And lastly, the goddess Durga, she is sort of associated with Rahu, because Rahu's associated with cats and Ketu's associated with dogs. So, as I stated in my other video explaining the deep significance of Rahu and Ketu, in my Rahu and Ketu playlist, it's like an hour and 20 minutes long, I state that Goddess Durga is a deity that is good for you to call on or pray to or worship. Do your own research on her if you want to sort of calm and quell and control maybe the negative effects and energies of Rahu in your life or in your chart. But that is all I have to say for this very lengthy video on Hasta nakshatra. Oh, this gave you great clarity and insight when it came to Hasta nakshatra if you got this in your chart. And thank you for watching.